If you've spent the last few evenings scrolling through endless product pages, watching YouTube comparisons, and still can't decide whether a MIG welder is the right tool for your garage or hobby space, this review is going to clear up the confusion. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've sat down with the specs, dug through a handful of forum threads, and talked to a few small shop owners who have actually put this machine to work. So let's break down what the Hobart IronMan 240 really brings to the table and who should bother with it. First off, the biggest hesitation most buyers have with a MIG welder isn't about horsepower, it's about whether the machine will actually fit into their day-to-day workflow without turning a simple repair into a marathon project. The IronMan 240 advertises single-phase, 220 divided by 230 divided by 240 VAC operation, which on paper sounds like a flexible solution for any home workshop that already has a standard 240-volt outlet. In reality, that flexibility is a double-edged sword. If you only have a 120-volt circuit, you'll need to run a dedicated line or upgrade your panel, which adds an extra cost that many first-time buyers don't anticipate. On the flip side, if you already have a 240-volt outlet installed for a dryer or air compressor, you'll get a solid, consistent power source that lets the welder maintain a steady arc even when you're running longer beads on thicker material. What really matters in the shop is how the welder handles the metal you're actually working with. The IronMan 240 is rated for up to 1/4 inch mild steel in a single pass, so it's perfectly suited for automotive frame repairs, light fabrication, and even welding a few pieces of stainless steel if you dial in the right gas mix. I spoke with a local auto body shop owner who said the machine holds the arc smooth enough that I can walk the torch along a 10-foot panel without flickering, which is exactly the kind of stability you need when you're trying to keep a seam straight and avoid weld porosity. For hobbyists who are building a small project car or a DIY bike frame, that consistency translates into cleaner welds on the first go, saving hours of grinding and rewelding. Now, let's talk about the practical strengths. One feature that repeatedly pops up in user discussions is the machine's built-in digital control panel. Unlike older analog dials that can drift after a few weeks of use, the IronMan 240 lets you set voltage and wire feed speed with a simple thumb wheel, and the display shows the exact values you've chosen. That means you can quickly switch from a 0.030-inch wire for thin sheet metal to a 0.035-inch wire for thicker plates without guessing. It also reduces the trial and error time that can be frustrating for newcomers who are still learning to read the arc. Because the control board is housed within a sturdy metal enclosure, it feels less likely to get knocked loose if you store the welder on a shelf or take it to a job site in a toolbox. Another practical upside is the machine's portability. Weighing just under 40 pounds, the IronMan 240 can be carried up a flight of stairs or loaded into the back of a small pickup. The included handle is ergonomic enough that you won't strain your wrist when you're moving it around a crowded garage. Compare that to some of the heavier, industrial-grade welders that require a dedicated cart, and you'll see why many small shop owners appreciate this balance of power and mobility. On the downside, the IronMan 240 does have a couple of hidden trade-offs that are worth mentioning before you click Add to Cart. First, the machine is a single-phase unit, which means it won't perform as well on the type of high-duty cycle work that you'd expect from a 3-phase, commercial-grade welder. If you're planning to run it continuously for 8 hours a day, the duty cycle will start to lag, and you may notice a drop in output voltage after a while. For most hobbyists and occasional professional use, that isn't a deal-breaker, but it does mean you need to monitor the temperature and give the machine a little cool-down if you're welding for extended periods. Second, the IronMan 240 ships with a standard 120-amp receptacle, which is adequate for most 1/4-inch jobs, but it limits you if you ever want to push the welder to its absolute max output. Some reviewers have noted that when they try to weld thicker material, say around 5/16 inch, they have to drop the wire feed speed a bit to avoid spitting. In practice, that means you might need to step up to a larger wire or accept a slightly slower work pace if you frequently tackle heavy-duty projects. Who should buy this machine? If you're a DIY enthusiast who already has a 240-volt outlet, or a small shop owner needing a reliable, portable MIG that can handle typical automotive and light fabrication tasks, the IronMan 240 is a solid match. Its digital controls, reasonable weight, and consistent arc make it a good fit for anyone who values quick setup and repeatable results without